An interesting things going on with the Canucks right now. They're 8-6, and most of us had them pegged as one of the worst teams in the league, and I wasn't even upset about it because I said, you know what, Jack Hughes, they need Jack Hughes. I'm now here to stand right here, now here, because 14 games into the season, there are other teams that need Hughes more than the Canucks. I still think they'll end up in the lottery at some point. I just don't think they're going to end up being one of the top lottery teams. 8-6 is nothing to laugh at either. They've been decent. I actually think they've been more impressive over their last couple of wins than they were getting to 5-3. More impressed by 8-6 than 5-3. But there are reasons why I don't think they really need to go through the whole. I think the rebuild is maybe closer to being done than we realize. I'm going to start with Horvat here. Horvat's got 7 goals in 14 games. He's got 10 points. He's played excellent this year. He's really rounded out his game, and that was a concern we had. Was that with the Sedin's protection not there, how is Horvat going to play as a number one guy? He's been pretty darn solid. Now, what helps is when you've got Elias Pettersson down the middle, and he's got 7 goals and 10 points as well in only 8 games. Now, for Pettersson, he's missed 6 games, so we will start talking about how many games a year he's going to play, and physically, is he going to be able to handle it? Because he will be a focal point for teams. Basically, it's, okay, go out there and shut down Pettersson, and we've got a shot at winning this. Pettersson's 7 goals in 8 games has a lot of people comparing him to Bure. I will say this, the Bure comparison is good. And where Pettersson reminds me of Bure is, he reminds me of Bure when he first came into the league. When Pavel Bure first started playing hockey as a Vancouver Canuck, he was not just a goal scorer. He hit, he played hard, and he wasn't a big guy either. Bure was not a big guy, and that did impact him later on in his career. I do think that was part of the reason why all those injuries started mounting, and he ended up not having as long a career. I think that his physical stature had something to do with that, and I would totally welcome that kind of a debate. That's fine, and that's where I wonder with Pettersson. Now, keep in mind, Bure had a number of 60-goal seasons. He was pretty excellent for quite a while, and he's a Hall of Famer. So that's still a pretty good career. Now, the trick is going to be Brock Besser's off to a slow start. 2 goals, 5 assists, 7 points. Virtanen, with those 2 goals last night, now has 5 goals in 14 games, 7 points. And remember, during the summer, I pointed out there were a number of really solid NHL players whose careers started out kind of the way Virtanen's has. And I pointed out Virtanen could very well end up being a 20, 25 goal scorer this year with the right amount of cultivation and buy-in from him defensively. And guess what? He's on pace for 25 goals right now. That's not bad. Here's the thing. So this could potentially be 4 out of their top 6. Okay, going forward, meaning that 3-4 years from now, this is still 4 your top 6. And I might be okay with that if Virtanen can maintain this start. If he can do this over a full season, put up about 40 points, put up about 20 goals, now we're talking. Virtanen would still have room to improve. He's only 22 years of age. For everybody who's just throwing dirt on his coffin, he's not in it. He's alive and well, and he's played pretty well this season. So I was kind of glad to see him get those 2 points when there was the empty net that one game, because just seeing those points on your stat sheet can make you feel better. That's why very often you'll see a guy who's been struggling get the puck thrown to him so they can get that empty net goal. His teammates will be like, all right, let's get it to him because he hasn't scored in a while. We'll get him on the board. Berchi, to me, is an outsider long-term. 10 games played, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points for him right now. He's been injured the last few games. And I've said this before, and I know people have a problem with me saying it, but I still don't know that Berchi, for me, when the Canucks are going to be contenders in that some point, it's going to happen. Okay, when they're actually, a top 3 team legitimately in the Pacific, I don't know that I see Berchi being part of that. I'm not talking about this season. I'm going beyond this season. Adam Gaudette, there are some people who are high on him. I see Gaudette in Vancouver being much like Radek Faksa in Dallas. I don't see that offensive upside that some people do. I see a very competent two-way forward, and I see a guy in Gaudette that I think could be very popular with Canuck fans for a long time. But I'm still on the fence as to what I think Gaudette's going to be. So for me, this is your top 4. Gaudette and Berchi are your potential other top two for that top six. That's why I'm saying they may not need Jack Hughes. This team may very well be one that at the end of the season you look and go, you know what, they're all right. Their forward group's all right. Quinn Hughes, of course, is a big name on the blue line. Ole Ulevi, who's in Utica right now, has 1 goal, 5 assists in 10 games. He's a -9, so the struggles are real for him defensively, which would help keep him out of the Vancouver lineup for the time being. Utica's got off to a rough start this season, in part because Thatcher Demko hasn't played yet due to concussion, which is a huge concern for me as a Canuck fan that Demko is out with a concussion, because this was supposed to be his big year to be the starter for the Utica Comets, get his confidence, and then the idea was next year he would come in and probably replace Nilsson, and you'd have Markstrom and Demko. But not on the board is the fact that Markstrom and Nilsson both got off to half-decent starts this year. Markstrom has a .911 save percentage. Nilsson has a .912. They're not hurting the team. And this team so far, and it is a complete team effort, has looked well. Jonathan Dahlen, I need to mention because people are waiting for him to come up and potentially play with Pettersson. 9 games in Utica, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. When you're talking about prospects that Canuck fans are excited about, Michael DiPietro is a goaltender that Canuck fans are excited about, and of course on the blue line you have Jet Wu. Now, even if Ulevi is a complete bust, let's just say Ulevi has a horrible season in Utica and they send him back to Europe, he's never heard from again. Quinn Hughes, Jet Wu, if these guys develop and become 2 of your top 4, you're good. If Wu ends up being a number 5 guy and Quinn Hughes is top 4, that's good for them as well. I think part of what you look at when you're saying, okay, this team's in a rebuild, is you're looking at a hole in their lineup. I look at the Rangers, for instance. I look at their forward group and I say, yeah, they could really use another big-name top 6 forward. I'm not saying that if you add Hughes to this group, you're not improving the team. What I'm saying is that right now, with where the Canucks are at, and right now with where some of these players are, and this I'm just talking about the core. I'm not talking about everything else around them. I'm talking about the core players that are going to be on this team for a long time to come. I don't know that you have to add Hughes. Yeah, if they win the draft lottery this year and they draft Hughes, this team's set. But then you've got Pettersson and Horvat. They're both top 6 centers. So then you have an interesting dilemma. Does Hughes move to the wing? I think part of what has maybe surprised some, myself included, was I had expected Elias Pettersson to play the wing during his rookie year. I had not expected him to be a center. The fact that he's been a center and he's looked pretty good. And not only that, but he's developing defensively. This is why I say the Bure comparison makes sense. The defensive side of his game is good. I remember Bure as a rookie skating around, hitting everything, and playing really well defensively. And it was shocking. And later on in his career, of course, when he got the really big contracts, he was getting the big money for scoring goals. That's when the jokes became, a matter of, at the end of the year, you could introduce Bure to his goaltender because he hadn't seen him all year. That's not the game Pettersson's playing right now, not as a rookie. He seems to be taking his assignments to heart, and he's improving his game as the season goes along. And we're only 8 games in. There's a lot that can happen. Yes, all of this could fall apart. For anybody who's going to watch this and go, well, Canucks, they could all fall apart. Yes, absolutely. But the fact that we're here, the fact that we have forwards in Vancouver that are playing well, the fact that 14 games into the season, the Vancouver Canucks have 2 goals from Brock Besser and they're 8-6, that's already a victory. And I know there will be people that come in and say, oh, they're not that great and they need this and they need this. And there are parts that they're going to need. And it is up to Benning to go out and find those pieces. But there are some very nice young players on this team. And it is a very young team that will make this team better in the long run. And I had expected a huge fallback, especially with the Sedins being out. That hasn't been the case. If Horvat can score 40 goals this year, he's on pace for 40. That's a huge, huge win for Vancouver. And, of course, Pettersson's on pace for a ton. Even last night, he doesn't get on the board for a goal. He doesn't get on the board for an assist. But he makes big plays. He's very important to the team. And he's very visible every time he's on the ice. He draws your eye. He draws the attention of the opposition. And even fans of opposing teams see him play and say, you know what, that kid's really pretty special. We were told this last year when he was winning all these accolades in Sweden. We were told this when he was breaking records held by Kent Nilsson and Peter Forsberg. And now we're seeing it firsthand in North America that he really is everything that he's been built up to be. Pettersson could very well be what Jack Hughes might have been to the Canucks, which means maybe they don't need him. Now, again, if they win the lottery, great. But my point is this. I no longer care about wins and losses with Vancouver, but it's different. It's not like at the start of the year where I said, hey, it's perfect if they lose and Pettersson gets a point. At this point, it's like, you know what? Go ahead, win the games. Try to make the playoffs. Fine with me. If you fail, at least you tried. But the effort is there. And Travis Green has done an amazing job with this group. When you consider the injuries they have had to deal with this year, and with Vancouver, you always have injury issues. Doesn't matter who the trainer is. You can look at their schedule and say it's their schedule. You look at numerous different things. I don't know. I've always thought they just don't have any luck when it comes to injuries. But they have a lot of guys who've been dealing with injury this year, guys who are in the lineup who've been out, and guys who are out right now. But they're still above 500, and they're still playing relatively well. So there you go. As close to a Canucks fan video as I get. I wanted to talk about this. I wanted to talk specifically about Pettersson, but seeing the way they've played the last week, I wanted to talk about the whole team and what we're seeing. And there's a lot of good in there, and we'll see how long that lasts and where it ends up. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video, and thank you guys so much for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.